Light physical activity after iftar can greatly benefit your digestion and overall well-being. Simple activities like a leisurely walk, gentle stretching, or engaging in light household chores can help improve digestion and prevent feelings of heaviness and discomfort. Remember, it's all about balance. Moderate activity can enhance your Ramadan experience without overexerting yourself.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya on this beautiful and rainy Tuesday in the Central Business District. It came from nowhere, but hey, all in the name of blessings. We needed that rain. Karibu sana to the program. My name is Victor Olo. I hope you are also ready to start your day in whichever way. All right, start it. All right, so today being a Tuesday and on People and Politics, let's talk about state of the nation, state of the politics. We saw 4 candidates face the IEBC selection panel yesterday. We still have more to go. It will be culminating tomorrow, and thereafter we'll see who will be the next IEBC boss. Today I'm joined by David Sankok, who is a member of parliament of East Africa Legislative Assembly. I'll also be joined by David Abuera. There you have them. That is a member of parliament representing Lugari constituency, and Professor Fred Ogola. He is the convener of J25 movement. Let's talk about that. According to Professor Ogola, he has made some court case against some 2 candidates. We'll be taking a look at that and why it is a matter of urgency as per the court papers. That is coming up at exactly 7, and so much more happening in the political arena. Welcome to the program. I'm Victor Olo. Vivian.
Good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
A very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show. Thank you for choosing to begin your rainy morning with us, depending on where you're watching us from. Now, today being a Tuesday, of course, we have Health Check right here on Good Morning Kenya. And our topic of conversation today will be an interesting one. Actually, it's one that normally we don't get to hear mostly a lot about. And it is about breast reconstruction and aesthetics. Yes, breast reconstruction and aesthetics. When we talk about breast reconstruction, what exactly are we talking about? Who exactly needs this reconstruction? And the aesthetic part, what exactly is it? That will be our topic of conversation today. And I will be joined by one Dr. Andrew Were Onyino. And Dr. Andrew is a board-certified plastic reconstructive and aesthetic surgeon at the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral and Research Hospital, and he will be in to talk to us about breast reconstruction and aesthetics. You definitely want to stay tuned for that at exactly 8 a.m. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian, and to everyone who is watching KBC Channel 1, this is a Good Morning Kenya, and the pace has already been set, so it's for you to keep it KBC Channel 1 and get to experience or be part of the conversations that are happening right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike. Remember, you can be part of every conversation. We are at KBC Channel 1 on all our social media platforms, so you can drop a comment or a question, and it shall be addressed accordingly. I want you to ponder to these words by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Every morning, you have 2 choices. Continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them. Every morning, you have 2 choices. Continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning. I'm just thinking, for this morning, would I have preferred to have stayed a little bit longer in bed? Considering the rain, considering, the temperatures and such, well,
Yeah.
it's neither here nor there. We are here. So good morning to you, team, as well as everyone who is watching us from home, regionally, as well as abroad. You're just in time for comprehensive news, and we start off with ongoing interviews where the integrity question and suitability to hold public office took center stage at the beginning of the vetting exercise of persons shortlisted for the post of IEBC chairperson. Anne Amadi was on the spot over her link to the 2023 gold scandal, which she dismissed as an attempt to tarnish her integrity. The former judge of the East African Court, Charles Nyachae, was hard-pressed to respond to claims of having extramarital affairs and scandals. In a petition filed by Bunge la Mwananchi, Abdiaziz Hashim has the quick summary of day one as we expect to see another set of hopefuls this morning face the selection panel. Here's a quick summary.
The ghost of the 100 million shilling gold scam in 2023.
I draw my strength from sticking to the truth, what is true, because the truth can never become a lie, and lies can never become true.
Came back to haunt the former Judiciary Chief Registrar Anne Amadi was being interviewed for the position of IBC Chair.
It was an attempt to shake me, an attempt to mudsling my reputation because I've upheld my integrity. I do not have skills in gold trade, and I had nothing to do with it. In fact, for the interest of this commission, I came with copies of the decision of the High Court that vitiated the decision freezing my account.
In our defense, Amadi, who has 34 years of legal experience, told the panel the British trader who was allegedly defrauded by the law firm Amadi and Associate Advocates in a fake gold scheme failed to convince the Court of Appeal of her involvement in the scandal.
There was actually no reason for me to be in that case and named as the first respondent because the firm that is involved, I resigned from it in 2014. And I was very busy in the judiciary. There was no time even to go and, get into any kind of practice. So for me, it was a malicious attack, and which is something that is, when you're in public service, you must be ready for. Public service at certain levels is not for the faint-hearted.
At the same time, she pledged to reduce the number of polling stations from the current 46,232 to 22,000 if appointed into office to enhance efficiency.
Charles Sayako Nyachae, confirming that is you.
Meanwhile, former judge of the East African Court, Charles Nyachae, was confronted by his alleged past transgressions in a petition filed by Bunge la Mwananchi.
And they allege the following: that you failed Chapter 6 integrity test due to scandals including extramarital affairs and child support lawsuits that you have faced before. Number 2, financial impropriety. They allege that you're linked to Procter and Allen, a cereals company in financial distress that has defaulted 3.7 billion loan, raising doubts about your financial management.
Nyachae in response stated that the allegations against him were hearsay and lacked merit.
Now, when I go through this, the first one of personal morals and integrity are just allegations and some. I saw a page from some newspaper.
Any knowledge of you being a state candidate?
A state candidate for this job? No. I'm not sure what a state candidate is, but I made this decision to run. You know, Mr. Chairman, when somebody talks about a state candidate, they are actually insulting this panel.
This as Chief Magistrate Abdul Qadir Lurot defended his bid for the chairperson position despite being a state officer, citing a precedent set by the cabinet.
I think I am respected by majority of my colleagues on the bench, and I have cut out a career that has spanned all these years with service and honor.
Lorot is currently the Chief Magistrate at the Naivasha Law Courts and has served in the judiciary for 23 years, including as a judicial trainer. The 9-member panel also queried Edward Katama.
Perhaps I'll seek legal advice on whether the IBC on its own motion can enforce the doctrine of necessity, or whether it requires validation of the court.
While the panelists were engaging the various candidates for their suitability, a section of youths were voicing their concerns over the nominees who were shortlisted, arguing that the youth are not rightfully represented to take up roles within the commission. The interview will run in 2 phases. Candidates for the chairperson role will be interviewed from March 24th to March 26th, while the selection of commissioners will take place from March 26th all the way to April 24th.
That exercise will enter day 2 this morning, and KBC Channel 1 is going to be televising this particular interviews live, so do keep it right here. It also forms the candid conversation that we're going to be having with our panel this morning. Among them, a governance expert, that is Fred Ogola, who is in court looking at the constitution of those who have been shortlisted for that position of IEBC. What does it change, if at all it changes? Do keep it right here. Still keeping up with matters of election observers and civil society groups in the country now want the chairperson and the 6 commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to hit the ground running once they assume office. With less than 3 years to the general elections, is that the concerns are mounting on whether the commission will have enough time to implement key reforms. Here's Ben Chumba with more.
I believe that I have something to offer.
The race against time has begun as the country embarks on the process of reconstituting its electoral commission. Pressure is mounting for swift and decisive action. Civil society groups and election observers say the new IEBC must move fast to rebuild public trust and address long-standing electoral challenges.
Our law envisions a permanent commission so that they can be able to prepare for an entire 5-year period. When they come 2.5 years to the elections, that means things are going to be speeded up. So now the major problem is going to be how to track what is going to be missed out and what is going to be implemented. So we are already time-barred. I think they need to hit the ground running as soon as they come in and try to see how much work they can be able to do before 2027 comes.
A major concern remains the integrity of the selection process. The IEBC selection panel is now conducting interviews for the chairperson and 6 commissioners. Analysts warn that if the right people are not selected, the political challenges that delayed the process may resurface.
We must always go back to the question, why did it take that long to be able to constitute the IEBC? If there are political questions, are we so sure that even after the commission is formed, those political issues are not going to rise up again?
And when elections have faults or fault lines that are not reformed, over time, governments lose legitimacy, but also citizens lose their free will as to who should govern them.
According to election observers, the new commission will need to act fast on key issues, including cleaning up the voter register and organizing free and fair by-elections.
When you have fair elections, the chances that you have leaders that represent your interests is quite high. So citizens should make investments in election observation.
Kenyans do not trust the electoral process. They don't trust the institutions, they don't trust the people in it. It does not matter who even comes in. So among the first thing that the new commission ought to do is from day one, start reaching out to the different constituencies out there.
As the country counts down to 2027 elections, the pressure is on. With time running out and expectations high, all eyes are now on the selection panel to deliver a credible team.
With an overview now to security, where the Coast Regional Police Commander Ali Nuno has put on notice criminals, gangs terrorizing residents of Likoni. Speaking at Likodep Hall, Mombasa, when he received 100 youth who have abandoned criminal activities, Nuno vowed to deal with miscreants head on according to the law. Elsewhere, senior administrators in Kiharu constituency, Murang'a County, are on the spot for allegedly attacking patrons and workers in a pub in Murang'a town. Timothy Kimutunsu with the details.
Coast Regional Police Commander Ali Nuno has warned criminal elements their days are numbered, even as he urged lawmakers to relook at capital offences that require bail.
Vijana wangu, the implication is the social implication of being in conflict with the law is that at early stage wewe utakuwa umejichafua, utakuwa umejiharibu. Ukianza kuchukulia vidole saa hii, kesi moja baada ya kesi nyingine. Now you want to grow up as a responsible member of the society.
Nuno expressed concerns that allowing bail for capital offenders is a setback in the criminal justice system, as in most cases the suspects commit crimes when out on bail.
Sasa ukianza kumamba ya criminality at this early stage, you will be spoiling yourself. Therefore, crime does not pay. I'm ready to partner with you. I'm ready to work for you.
Most of the juvenile gangs are politically instigated groups. Na leo hapa mbele yenu nasema tena, hawa vijana wetu wanatumika vibaya na sisi wanasiasa.
He made the remarks as he held a meeting with the 100 reformed youth who opted to abandon a life of crime.
Kansela wetu, Timbwani ni yako. Timbwani ikiharibika wewe ndo unaharibikiwa. Hapa Timbwani nyooke, kansela mbaya. Tenda kama inavyotakikana.
Meanwhile, senior administrators in Kiharu constituency, Murang'a County, are on the spot for allegedly attacking patrons and workers in a pub in Murang'a town, leaving them nursing injuries.
I have a neck injury where I can't move my neck vizuri, so the muscles are hurt. That is from the swings from the lady and from the man. The legs from the folds, the lips, the spine, the back, because the folds are two different ways.
Huyo madam juu nikataa kumpatia funguo akanislap. Kuuliza mimi nimeslapiwa nini? Kasa acha kuuliza hivyo. Juu hadi akona gun. Unajua naweza kuslap mpaka nichoke.
In circulated CCTV footage that has sparked outrage, the two assistant county commissioners, Esther Mudhoni from Kiharu sub-county and her male colleague Peter Mtoka, senior assistant county commissioner at the office of deputy county commissioner, are captured entering the hotel at around 5 a.m. on Saturday.
So I inquired from them what the problem was. And they could not be able to explain. And at that level, I realized one, that they were staggering and they appeared drunk.
That must be something, you know. They allegedly said, the attacker said that, naweza mchapa hadi achoke. Wow. All right. Now, the Transport Licensing Appeals Board has temporarily lifted the operational ban imposed by the National Transport Safety Authority, NTSA, on the Super Metro Limited fleet. The board, through its chairman, Adrian Kamoto, said the fleet can immediately resume operations in due compliance with the law. This as NTSA organized a special forum that brought together the SACCO's operators, among them the drivers and conductors in Kabete, Kiambu counties on matters road safety. NTSA says the action taken on Super Metro SACCO was not an isolated case but will cut across other SACCOs. NTSA suspended Super Metro Limited's operating license on March 20th for multiple violations of public service vehicle regulations.
Kuna mambo ambayo tulikuwa tumeomba kwamba kampuni iangalie, irekebishe. Na kampuni pia ikawa imetii kwamba ni mambo mazuri yatawasaidia kuanzia leo na kuendelea kule mbele. Kwa hivyo hakukuwa na ile haraka kwamba lazima watu warudi barabarani kwa haraka hivyo na hawajakamilisha hayo mambo. Kwa hivyo kuna utaratibu ambao lazima wakamilishe. Na imekuwa ni vizuri, hatujakuwa na shida yote. Walileta magari, tumeyakagua, madereva ndio hawa, tumeangalia.
Sisi tulienda na tukaomba, tukatoa ombi letu on Saturday, na tunataka kushukuru shukrani kwa sababu kupitia yale ile bodi imeona ni vizuri sisi turudi kazini kama tunaendelea kutimiza yale ambayo hatujayafanya kuendelea. Ni makosa kuchukulia hatua na kufunga sako yote kwa sababu ya makosa ilifanywa na dereva mmoja ama na kondakta mmoja. Ni vizuri kila mtu akuwe na beba msalaba wake.
Nimefurahia sana venye tumerudishwa kazi. Sasa hiyo venye chairman wetu amesema kuhusu shule ya kutrain hawa maconductors, hiyo tunaweza ichukulia kwa vizuri sana.
That particular directive, or rather, development in regard to that matter, has caused a lot of public discourse, especially on social media platforms, with Kenyans, a majority of them questioning if it was any other fleet of matatus, would the ban have been lifted that fast? You can be part of this conversation. Get on X at KBC Channel 1. Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga on Monday met with the Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Ambassador Guyo Hian, to discuss ongoing development cooperation between Kenya and China. Odinga acknowledged China's significant role in financing key infrastructure projects, emphasizing on the importance of continued collaboration between the two countries. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi was also in attendance during the meeting.
I have received today here Ambassador Guo Hian from the People's Republic of China. She's paid a courtesy call on me, and we have discussed issues of common interests. As you know that the People's Republic of China has been in this country for as long as Kenya has been independent. And they have financed a number of development projects in our country. There's a very good cordial relationship between Kenya and China, both in the fields of trade, fields of industrialization, the fields of cultural exchange, and so on. So we have just done a review of this, and as you know, it's ongoing discussions between the government of China and the government of Kenya, but I'm not part of the government. Therefore, I'm really concerned about mutual relationship between our two countries.
Speaking agriculture now, Principal Secretary in charge of Agriculture Paul Rono says that the government has procured an additional 1 billion bags of subsidized fertilizer for the long rain season to meet the high demand from farmers. Here's Benson Riuba with the details.
Smallholder farmers in some parts of the country that the subsidized fertilizer was out of stock last week are being advised to check at their nearest National Cereals and Produce Board depot. Agriculture Principal Secretary Paul Rono says an additional 1 million bags have been procured on top of the 3.5 million bags that had been bought earlier.
Kisha tukaitisha mbolea zingine milioni moja. Hata umeona imechapa OCP 700,000 bags, zingine 200,000 bags zimelodiwa.
It were better if the government could be supplying fertilizer in abundance, in an estimate of a fertilizer that can cover almost 2 years, so that the scramble between the small-scale farmers and the large-scale farmers cannot match.
Rono says there has been increased demand for the subsidy fertilizer ahead of the long-range planting season.
Tuliposikia imeisha ndio katustusha kidogo, lakini tukafanya uchunguzi tukapata maana ya fertilizers kuwa ndogo sahi kwa sababu wakulima wamekuwa wengi sana kuliko mwaka uliopita.
Last mile distributors of the subsidized fertilizer are being vetted.
Pareta hiyo ni ya Morocco, hiyo ni ya wapi? Pareta aina moja. Sasa mnapanda mahindi ndio utajua hii ilifanya mzuri.
Wameleta mavuno na wameleta nyingine sijui inaitwa nini. Hatujawahi tumia kwa mashamba yetu kuweza kupanda.
Wale watu wanafanya hiyo tabia mbaya kuharibu mbolea na vile kuharibu mbegu, kupeana mbegu mbaya. hawa hawatapata nafasi wakati huu na wakati wa kuendelea mbele.
He says the government is extending the subsidy program to seeds by availing cash to the Kenya Seed Company to lower retail prices and encourage farmers to use certified seeds.
Tumerudisha bei ya mbegu. Kilo moja shilingi 210, kilo 2 shilingi 420, kilo 10 shilingi 2,100 vile vile.
Kenya should prioritize accurate data collection on electronic waste to guide policymakers in making informed decisions on its management. Speakers at the 7th Eco-Regional E-Waste Awareness Conference said there's a need for urgent policy reforms and best practices to ensure the safe disposal of electronic waste that is expected to hit 82 billion kilograms globally in 5 years. Stories that are making headlines. Now let's cross over to sports, where over 70 golfers from different regions took part in the 5th edition of the Ndumberi Golf Club Patron Tournament that took place at the Ndumberi Golf Club, Kiambu County. The tournament was used to raise funds to complete a stalled clubhouse.
Speaking during the tournament, the patron of the club, Peter Kimari, urged the Kenya Golf Union to move in speed and support the cause, saying Ndumberi Golf Course was founded in the early 50s and has been in the center of the village where all sports activities and meetings take place.
It's a club which has been in existence for the last 65 years, and now it's being used as a golf course, a playground for football, public balazars, government mission, county government balazars are all here.
Kimari also added the fundraiser will go a long way to complete the clubhouse where they have done the changing rooms.
Today we are having a series of tournaments, and particularly every tournament will be doing some fundraising.
During the event, Peter Mwai emerged the overall men's winner after garnering 45 points, while Stamford Kanyoni and Timothy Kimari completed the podium positions. In the ladies category, Holina Njeri garnered 33 points to bag the title as sponsored team winner. The club has produced best golfers in the country, among them Michael Koraga, who is the top amateur golfer in Kenya and 5th in Africa, and best junior amateur golfer Elvis Muigwa.
I would wish to thank the county government of Kiambu for giving us a parcel of land, have an acre of land within the course, where we are now doing a clubhouse.
That effectively puts a cap on matters in the headlines this morning. Some of the developing stories include the ongoing selection of IEBC commissioners that is happening in Nairobi South Sea area, and we're keeping tabs on that. Yesterday was day one. Today is expected to be day two. Day one featured issues of integrity and suitability of the candidates to hold that particular position. We'll be keeping tabs on that and what comes out of that. We're also going to be keeping tabs on what is happening in as far as security is concerned. Later on tonight on the shift, we're going to be looking at the hits and misses of the public health department, at a time when the country is focused on attaining universal health coverage. Is public health the key to that? Well, we'll be looking at that tonight, so do keep it KBC Channel 1. I leave in the capable hands of my colleague, that is Victor Olo, as well as Vivian and Mike. Have a pleasant day ahead. I'm Regina Manyara.
tunapowasha vifaa vyetu, tunapata fursa ya kutangamana na wasikilizaji wetu.
Karibu sana thĩinĩ wa tabarĩra ya Rwiga.
Tunapeperusha utangazaji uliobobea katika habari,
ni ũndũ wa macio na mangĩ maingĩ,
burudani,
aha ni harĩa tukoragwo tukĩigua nyĩmbo mwaki nyĩmbo hot,
na hamasisho la kiroho. Usiachwe nyuma. Jiunge nasi kwa safari ya kufana katika 99.5 FM. Soro FM.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
And welcome back. Good morning. And now it's time for us to get to the political scene and let's fight it together. My name is Victor. Welcome. It's now 4 minutes past 7 a.m. Before you leave the house, let's get you updated on what's happening in the political arena. Of course, so much is happening in the country, and of course, we need to dissect some of them, and because that's basically what's affecting us. So today, we are also going to take a look at the second day of the interviews happening at the Kenya College of Insurance in South Sea. We have got 4 candidates going to face the panel today: Erastus Edu Ethekon, Francis Kakai Kissinger, former Nairobi clerk Jacob Ngwele Muvengei, and Joy Brenda Masinde Mdivo, who is the current Kenya Power Board chair. They'll be facing the panel today to face it off on who is going to be the next IEBC boss. So fine, my guest already in studio, the Member of Parliament of East Africa Legislative Assembly, David Sankok. He calls himself the global geopolitician. The global geopolitician.
I don't call myself, they call me.
You call yourself so as well?
No, yes, of course, I've accepted the name, the nickname. The global geopolitician, just the way Raila accepted the name Tinga and Aguamo.
Okay.
And Victor.
Yes.
Good morning to viewers.
Good morning. How is Arusha doing?
Arusha is always fine.
All right.
As usual. Temperatures are fine there.
Right.
And kazi iko sawa.
Asante sana. You'll tell us more on what's happening across our borders. And of course, Professor Fred Ogola, who is the J25 convener. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning, viewers. It is good to have you when we have the, what you call the Good Morning Kenya.
Good morning, Kenya.
Good morning,
right
Kenya.
Here on KBC.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for sparing time.
Yes.
It's always, actually it's a rainy morning here in the city, but you've spared your moment and you're here. We're still waiting for Nabina Bwera, who is a legislator of Lugari constituency. He'll be here shortly, but the show has to be on the road. So, gentlemen, let me start by asking you, Mheshimiwa, how is basically everything in Arusha? We are members of EALA, and you're a member of parliament sitting there. How are we doing? Just give me a quick overview of how things are.
We are doing well, and business-wise, as you know,
Yes.
the East African Community Economic Bloc is the most blessed and strategically placed economic bloc in the world.
Yes.
Being sandwiched between 3 major waters, that is the Indian Ocean to the east and the Atlantic Ocean to the west, and the Gulf of Eden, meaning this economic bloc can do business to the Far East through Indian Ocean, to the Middle East and Europe through the Gulf of Eden, and to the west, that is America, and, South America and North America, through the Atlantic Ocean. We are also blessed to have 38 freshwater lakes. One of them is the second largest in the world.
Yes.
We have the longest river in the world, that is River Nile, passing through our region. We have the 7th largest river in terms of water volume, River Congo. So we are doing fine. We have 2 main corridors. And our business inter-country trade is doing very well.
Yes.
The corridors are doing very well. The central corridor that passed through Dar es Salaam, all the way Arusha to Bujumbura to DRC. And then the northern corridor that passed through Mombasa, Nairobi, Malaba, all the way Kigali to DRC.
Yes.
But unfortunately, our truck movement, that is the trucks in Kenya, have been reducing. In the other countries, it have been increasing. The central corridor have been doing very well.
Why?
Ours is a bit shaky because of sometimes political environment, which is not very friendly. Sometimes our roads are closed through demonstrations. Our Ministry of Transport is another ministry full of people who I call probably not very good standard of engineers, because in highways we don't put bumps.
Yeah.
But go to your Ayaki way today, irrelevant bumps. You know, in Kenya there are communities who, when a donkey is knocked down by a car, the following day you'll find villagers with wheelbarrows erecting bumps, maram bumps on top of tarmac road. I don't know if that mentality of some villagers have been brought into the leadership of the transport ministry. We are erecting bumps everywhere in our highways.
Yes.
If Kenyans don't stop them, they will erect bumps in the expressway. Yes.
You've talked about DRC. What is EALA doing in as far as DRC conflict is concerned?
Of course, those are some little issues.
Yeah.
People
You call them little, Michelle?
Yes, of course. You know, there are conflict everywhere in the world. Yes, but we have been brainwashed to think of our continent as a black continent.
Yes.
And whenever there are some conflict here and there, we magnify them so that we can chase away our investors, we can chase away our tourists, we can destroy our economy. They are there, and East African community is doing all it can to restore peace, not only in DRC, but also some little flower of conflict in Republic of South Sudan, which I'm sure it will be stable very soon.
Okay. Allow me to also ask Prof, because Prof is when you talk about business and economy, that is his forte. He's talked about how we are doing the corridors in Africa and, of course, East Africa in general. Would you confirm what he said, that we are doing well in terms of economy, East Africa?
Well, East African economy is among the most admired economies. Remember, if you look at some of the members of the East African community, there seem to be very many stability in East Africa.
Yes.
Take any African region, you'll find there are so many coup countries. Like currently, there's no coup country in East Africa. Go to West Africa, you'll find. Go to North Africa, you'll find. Go to South Africa, you'll find. So East Africa seems to enjoy a lot of freedom because the stability varies across the region. For example, DRC, South Sudan, but most countries are stable. There was an issue in Ethiopia, but it's well sorted now. So East Africa enjoys. Then secondly, you have to know that East Africa and South Africa are the most important countries geopolitically. He calls him geopolitician. East Africa and South Africa are the most important geopolitically because the entry to the Middle East and to the Indian Ocean, you can only use East or South Africa. Because anytime there's a turmoil in East Africa or South Africa, the global trade can take place. And that's how significant East Africa is. So you see a lot of interest, even the countries that came here. Germans was fighting for this place, the French was fighting for it, the English was fighting for it. So East Africa is significant geopolitically, and therefore there are some natural things. We have natural harbors in Africa, East Africa, so there's a lot of things which are right here.
Yes.
At the moment, the leadership in East Africa is not as stable as it had been before. Because if you look at the relationship between East African countries, when Uhuru was the president, you could see there's a lot of relationship were more warm. Now, You saw now people are complaining, oh, you know, the AU, East Africa had a moment. They choose a country like Djibouti, which is sort of irrelevant, and they left Raila Odinga, who is coming from Kenya, and Kenya is geopolitically very important. So what would America want to negotiate with Djibouti to do with? Is an economy which is as small as Kiambu. So you look at the issue that East Africa never look at a strategically important country to take over the AUC. Which influence does Djibouti have when the president of Djibouti lands in the US or in UK? How do you negotiate? Because you just look like one of the districts in the US, or actually you look like one of the villages in the US. So I'm looking at the fact that East African countries, so the other time when Kagame talked, William Ruto, I don't know whether they're relating very well. You try to understand what's happening in South. So I'm believing that as a member of YALA, what you might try to do is unity is very important. How can these heads of state start looking like they want to relate? Because the way they talk really oozes air of comfort and confidence to the investors that come here. Remember that the intra-East African trade is also not growing as we want. For example, you saw Sudan saying, now if you do this, you cannot import here. Those sort of things should not be happening in East Africa. We should be seeing more people wanting to do business, because distance is important. Because, for example, go talk about horticulture.
Yes.
Nowadays, there's a charge called food miles, meaning if you carry food from here to UK, because of the environmental stewardship, you are charged for how much fuel you've burnt to take the food away.
Food miles.
Food miles, yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's a cost you incur. But now, just taking food to Uganda here, or taking some to Sudan is less. So that's why you're finding the Chinese have gone to a country like Ghana or West Africa to manufacture, let's say, horticulture. So the Chinese are flying that food from Ghana to the US or UK, to UK, actually in Europe. It is cheaper than a Kenyan flying food from here to UK, and therefore they pay less food miles. And the Kenyan horticulture is becoming less competitive in that market. I think there must be somebody actually to tell you, we need a Kenyan leader who actually understands economics. I'm sorry to say that, because the Kenyan problem at the moment is not political. The Kenyan problem is economic. How do you put food on the table? How do you get these young people employed? How do you ensure that people can have health care? How can you ensure that education is advanced enough so that Kenya can take advantage of this environment?
Mheshimiwa Nabii, good morning.
Morning.
Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Victor Pole. I woke up, I live in Westlands, Lantana Road. And as people are busy on rooftops. When it rains, the systems collapse. I couldn't just get out of my house because all the drainages had closed, and a small car got in to block everybody else. So that's what we are.
Yeah.
Now, very, very interesting insights from our YALA representative, and I want to appreciate Sangok that you've done justice.
And thank you for your vote.
Yes, and yes, that's why you are my candidate, you know that.
Yes, of course.
And Prof, once more, very insightful. But I have a completely different view. And my view is that, one, the DRC issue is big. Is very big. And I'll tell you why. You know, in this community, we've been conditioned to compare to failure. That's what we've been conditioned. And that's why, and this started with the President Moi. And he conditioned all of us. He would compare us to Somalia, compare us to failure. I've always said, like Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela told people, please compare yourself to where you are supposed to be. Then the leadership will get it right. Because you will that push the leadership to say, this is not where our space should have been here. Okay? Just Congo, that DRC alone, if Africa was to come, East Africa was to come together and say, hey, this problem is huge, then we look at it, because this DRC has the capability to power the economy of the whole of Africa. The mineral issue in DRC, which is causing this problem, if properly utilized, not the way we are smuggling their gold, their diamond, through various countries, through Kenya, through where the Chinese, the Belgium, and now the American are getting into it, that the mineral, the diamond and gold alone, forget about, I've not even talked about uranium in Congo, is if you are to mine it properly, put it on the world market, it is more than the economy of East and Central Africa. I've not talked about the utilization of the Dinga Dam. I've not talked about the natural forest. Every time you see trucks passing here, carrying the trees, the timber of mahogany from Congo is smuggled. Now, if you are to look at it from that, then you will understand, Prof, the international macroeconomics that made Americans influence Djibouti
yes,
to produce the AU chair. It's about economics. It is about capitalism. We did not understand as a country the international capitalism factors. Whereas we were looking at this thing as an African issue, we forgot that AU is going to play in an international market. And made two blunders that cost us this seat. We went to China when we were campaigning and attempted to meet the African leaders in China. The Americans said, ho, ho. So these guys, if the Kenyan candidate takes over here, then they are going to go Chinese. This is our competitor. We will do all what it takes to make sure it doesn't work. And that's what happened. Secondly, you forgot that the American then, whom we were, going to bed with, the Democrats, had one problem. They were looking for partners in terms of military bases. I can tell you, if Trump had taken over power by then, Raila would be the chair today. Because they have no interest in this stupid political thing where you have to have military fighting for them. They are looking at the internal, what he's saying, the internal economics. The Republicans are more interested with the internal economy. The Democrats were interested in being the big boys around the world. So they went in for a place where they will come and put a small country, they will dominate, they will tell, can we put our military bases here? So that when we want to attack Israel, support Israel, we have somewhere where we are launching our military from. And this, therefore, explains something my brother Sangoka want to share with you today. I have a friend, a young girl in this town. She is teamed up with some black American, of Kenyan descent. They export from Kenya omena, traditional vegetables, minji, and some particular type of beans called roskoko. You can imagine, Victor, these are Kenyans. They are now doing it better in Uganda. They are better export from Uganda than here at JKIA for two reasons. One alluded to by Sangok, that to transport omena
from Muhuru Bay, it is 3 times expensive than to get the same omena from Busia to Entebbe and get it to America. Yes. Number one. Why is it expensive? Other than the road being what it is, the number of toll stations, everybody wants to eat from it.
But now that's where the East African legislature, where you come, Eyala, the tariff barriers. I mean, it's been a song over the years.
Yes.
So what Mheshimiwa is saying is actually now putting a very big sharp focus on Eyala. I mean, you got that.
And Victor, I think we have done whatever that is possible because to cross with that omena through Busia, that is where now our work is, the border. It is totally seamless. You know, we have one-stop border post where you meet all the Kenya, KRA, and also Uganda revenue authorities so that you clear as quick as possible and move on.
Yes.
The problem, and I think my brother here, Mheshimiwa, is very correct. It is really becoming very expensive to do business in Kenya. Apart from erecting unnecessary bumps, which I have told you they can even erect in expressway, kwa ujinga tu, village mentality being brought into the city. We also have a lot of barriers, police barrier. You go to a distance of 5 kilometers. There is a police barrier who is flagging you. Surely, if I have come through another police and they have inspected me, I don't think my vehicle all of a sudden the insurance have expired within 5 minutes. I don't believe really, because if today you travel to Nakuru, you will actually encounter more than 18 traffic police officers inspecting your car. That is time lost. Again, we had an opportunity to have Lapset being another corridor that will really connect us with the Republic of South Sudan and even Ethiopia. Now it is not there because of I don't know what is happening. So for us in legislation, we have done whatever that is possible. For instance, my bill was passed on the use of local currency in intra-EAC trade because it is very expensive for you to change Kenya shillings into US dollars at a fee, go to Uganda to buy maize. Now because Mama Mboga and maize vendors don't understand the US dollars, you have to convert again the US dollars into Uganda shillings at a fee. So America end up reaping where they have not sown. Whoever is going to buy maize is a Kenyan. Whoever is selling maize is Uganda. Pilipili wa America wasioila sijui inawashia nini, but they end up having conversion fee 2 times. I also have a bill on blue economy. I wonder why do we have road networks around Lake Victoria? Surely. And you know, for you to be able to have highway around Lake Victoria, you have to have money to construct that highway and to maintain that highway. But huge vessels between the cities around Lake Victoria will not need construction of roads, will not be affected by bumps, will not be affected by demonstration. It is seamless travel and export of goods from one country to another. From Lake Victoria, you can travel from Kisumu, for instance, to 7 major cities, including Jinja, Kampala, Entebbe, Mwanza, Homa Bay, all those cities without the use of a road, constructing that road and maintaining that road. For you to be able to travel from Kisumu all the way to Juba, that is 3,900 kilometers. You really don't need a road. You travel through water. If you travel from Eastern DRC to Western DRC, you will use 4,900 kilometers without using a road because of River Congo. And our forefathers used to travel using water. Water is the safest and the cheapest mode of transport. But are you utilizing it? We are not even thinking about it. Go to Kisumu. What do they use Lake Victoria for? Washing cars. retrogressive thing.
But again, Mheshimiwa, you'll also have to look at the regional governance complexities that we have within East Africa, I mean, the community itself. Because Uganda will have their own stand, Kenya will have their own stand, same as Tanzania, etc., etc.
That is why IALA is there to set up laws and legislation. And you know, by the way, East African Community Economic Bloc is the only economic bloc with a residential parliament.
But at this...
But Victor,
yes,
you are missing the point here. What was so different with Kwame Nkrumah? What was so different with Abdel Nasser? What we need is not about what Kenya or Uganda. You need a big thinker.
Yes.
A person, a leader who thinks beyond horizons, okay? We stop thinking about Kenya. What he is talking about is thinking globally. And that's what a leader needs to do. That's what Kwame Nkrumah did to come up with AU. Now, you don't need to say that because I'm a Kenyan, so I must just think in my way. When you are limiting your own people, what has happened? Ask yourself. You know, he has said something very interesting here, which we all need to follow. He said, the Central Corridor, the corridor that is from Tanzania, Dar es Salaam.
Yes.
It is more functional than our corridor. Let me qualify it. That the economies we were so much ahead of them, Tanzania, Uganda, they are surpassing our own economy.
Of course.
Why? Because of our mindset.
Village mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, why should I? I come from Western Kenya. He will also tell you he's from Narok, I know. Whenever I hunt animal feed, I have to cross over to Uganda.
That is what I do every day.
You cross over to Uganda to get animal feed?
Yes!
Yeah.
How do you get animal feed from Kenya?
It's so expensive, you're not
Damn
making
expensive.
Anyway, Victor, let me say the following.
Let's take a break. Let's just take a break. You cross over to Uganda to get animal feed.
Animal feeds. And it is closer to come to the factories in Nairobi than actually going all the way to Kampala. But I have to go there. It will be cheaper.
We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Wellness is important in our daily lives so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have. By regular checkup, people don't know they have hypertension, they don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
welcome back. Oh, okay, gentlemen, continue. Welcome back, continue. Let's go on. And Prof, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say is that if I would be president today,
yes,
we would create something very special for all the first heads of state of Africa so that people can actually understand what these people were, like Kwame Nkrumah, people like Haile Selassie. What is the best quote about Kwame Nkrumah? Haile Selassie, he said that we shall never be defeated. We are being defeated.
Of course.
We shall never be defeated is Haile Selassie's quote. That we shall never be defeated. And in fact, the quote you talk about Nelson Mandela, that we should never compare ourselves, because politicians in Kenya, when they are campaigning, they tell you, we want to be like Singapore, isn't it? So they promise you Singapore during the campaign. After the election, they tell you, we are better than South Sudan.
Yeah, of course.
Or Somalia.
Or Somalia. So we cannot benchmark with failure. Like I heard you say, people who come about Kenya Power, try to go to Nigeria. Yeah. But Nigeria was not our benchmark. Because talk about the cost of production, taxation. The politicians in this country, sorry to say, exception of you maybe, don't understand economics. They don't understand economics.
At all.
Because when someone speaks, like when I listen to John Badi, when he discusses economics, I get so worried that he's the head CS of Treasury. It does not matter where he comes from my village. When you hear the fact that they think that you either collect money through taxes or borrowing. No production, no manufacturing, no generating anything, just like either you increase taxes. That's why I talk about the issue of 11 shillings per every kg charged in Uganda, but in Kenya, it is 28 per kg charged. Because everybody think about how can I tax more? How can I borrow more? And that is not a solution. Yeah. For example, before Kenya gets where we are, in fact, every African country, Kenya do not even start from where it's in. Kenya needs to ask herself, what is the Kenyan interest? Correct. And then put Kenya first. What's the Kenyan interest? Kenya has no interest which is defined. So anybody comes and asks with Kenya what they want. The former head of state comes and does what he wants. The current one comes, does what he wants with Kenya. Then tomorrow another one comes, does what Kenya. What do I mean by here? Kenya has been converted as a market for people who comes to sell to us. Kenyan interest should be Kenya should be the workshop for the world, where we manufacture, we produce. People are working to put ugali kwa meza, sivyo, na pesa kwa mfuko. But if everybody just come and say, where can I tax? Everybody comes to the project on how to make money. It doesn't work. And then if I ask you, when I was an economist at the European Central Bank, I was asked this question. How comes the dollar has always been more stable than the euro?
Yeah, all the years.
Do you know why? And that's what I need to do at East African Legislative Assembly. Before you go to saying Africa needs to be this, do we feel African first, or you start by thinking with the village mentality, first of all, I am a Luo first, then secondly is when I'm a Kenyan, then thirdly is when I'm East African, then fourthly I'm an African. No. Look at Kwame Nkrumah's dream. We needed first to be Africans. Before, if you start by saying, I'm a village boy from Ugenya, no. Because you start looking at this small, that's what I'm telling you. We are fighting inside a small country called Kenya when opportunities are global. Yeah. Someone fighting every time we are looking at the presidency as if it is life and death, yet if you go to AU, Kenyans are poorly represented. Even if we don't meet the quotas in all African Union, you go even to East African, we don't even meet our quota. If you go to a country like Rwanda, Burundi, they are just overcoming their quotas. For us, we are thinking about how can I fight a fellow lawyer, instead of seeing that we are in a global economy and that we need to look for these opportunities globally. I should even be able to, you should open a column where all global jobs can be seen by all Kenyans, so that Kenyans don't see mimi serikali imenikinyima kazi. We are in the world. You have a Kenyan passport. No, there's no country which has said Kenyan cannot work. At the same time, I'm not telling people need to go abroad, but we cannot even take advantage of our own country if we have no global influence from outside.
Yes.
So my task to these people is that we need to think global, but execute locally, meaning that we need to look at our interests. In fact, our interests should be by product and by content.
And you see, the good thing is,
like you see, for example,
yes.
in Kenya, made in Kenya, everything is made in China. Why? Because the Chinese education system has made it possible that Chinese is the workshop of the world. Even American products like Apple go to manufacture in China, not because of cheap labor, because the skills to do that work has been developed through education system.
You see what, Prof? You have these two gentlemen, one from the East, Ayala and Kenya. And you see now, it's all about the economic opportunity perspective, generally, where we are. And as a country, you'll agree with me, gentlemen, because anytime we are, for example, we are almost now debating the 2025, 2026, budget and all that. So how do we leverage what Kenya is doing and put it somehow, if not so equal?
Just a minute.
All right.
First of all, I think I have a problem with Prof. It is not you have a Kenyan passport. You have an East African passport issued in Kenya. Just like you have your Kenyan national identity card issued in Busia. So this one is an East African passport issued in Kenya. Good news. In 2031, we'll have the East African currency, which will wrestle. Yes,
that has been beautified for so many years.
This one, in fact, I started by saying my bill of the use of local currency in intra-country trade within East Africa, so that we can try to harmonize our respective currency. At the moment, they are a bit far apart. The Kenyan shillings is exchanging to the dollar at a rate of 130. Yet the Burundian franc is exchanging at a rate of 3,900. So we have to harmonize them. And that is the roadmap to harmonize it. By 2030, we'll have the East African currency called the East African Pesa. That will be, in fact, wrestling with the dollar and the euro. And that, I can assure you, as I sit in the East African Legislative Assembly, we will actually actualize it. Now coming back to Kenya, and I think Mheshimiwa here expounded it, and even Prof here, very nicely. The problem is that our thinking is so local, so village-like, to an extent that Tanzania, which was looking up on Kenya in terms of economy, is now surpassing us. Go to Kampala. Go at midnight. There is traffic jam. All shops are open. Even at 2 a.m. I don't think any mad person can open a shop when there is no customers. I don't think there will be traffic jam, people running up and down, if there is no economic value for you to go around the city.
What are the biggest contributors to this? Political insecurities?
Of course, they had said very well. I buy my animal feeds from Uganda. It is cheaper to produce. Here, taxes are just haywire. Everything, the inputs, the farm inputs, the agriculture inputs. You talked about fertilizer, but producing is not only about fertilizer. It will also include the tractors, the diesel the tractors will use, and all the raw materials. And he talked about Uganda being fertile. I'm telling you, Kenya have the most fertile soils. What we lack in Kenya as compared to Uganda is water. But we are lucky we have waters that are above. The waters in Aberdare can use gravity all the way to Isiolo. The waters in Mount Kenya can use gravity all the way to Marsabit. The waters in Mount Kilimanjaro can use gravity all the way to the drylands of Kajiado. But do you think about that? We think about going to promise Kajiado that we'll build a highway, we will do this, we will do. And unfortunately, let me tell you, there's a difference between an opposition leader and Mheshimiwa is sitting in parliament. Today, Mheshimiwa, your competitor, will actually promise people that if I get this seat, I'll do this. So for them to make promises, there's no problem. But you, why do you promise? You already have the seat. If today I'm elected the president, I'll sit in my office and work. But if I go and campaign to get what? Of course, those guys who are in opposition, like Nakalonzo, they can continue campaigning. Because you took what they wanted. They don't have. But for me to go and campaign as a president, campaigning so that I can get what?
Gentlemen, I want us to come back home. I have personal questions I want to ask all of you.
Come back
just
home.
A minute. On individual levels.
Just a minute. The Kenyan macroeconomics is a debate that we must get right.
Yes.
For God's sake. And I agree with the Professor Gola. Sometimes I listen to colleagues and wonder whether the basics of life have changed. You know, as a country, we should be concerned that we tried to do production in Kulalu and it didn't work. We have never asked questions. I mean, Professor Ogola, Kulalu has very good soils.
The best.
The only thing we needed was to manage the water system.
Yes.
As a country, we need to ask ourselves, as a people, a very one fundamental question. Are we living today or we want to live tomorrow? Because if you live today, do all this nonsense we are doing. But if you are thinking of living tomorrow, then the thinking must shift to ensuring that you preserve and you produce for the future.
But allow me to interrupt you. There is no choice about that. It's very clear that what we have is something we have borrowed from the future. So we cannot live today.
What do you mean we borrow from the future?
You see, what the world Kenya we have now, we owe it to our children, our children's children. So we cannot live and destroy it now. So there's no debate about whether we are living today or tomorrow. We are living for the future. But that's what sustainable development is all about. When you are doing development, you cannot kill what your children will see. For example, if you kill National Park, Nakuru National Park, you kill the Savo National Park, your children will never know whether they existed. So we borrow this one.
The two guys are saying the same thing.
Let me just tell you this. What I was saying here. If you are living tomorrow for tomorrow, then your behavior must demonstrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is my concern. And that is what he was talking about here. He is saying they will raise bumps on expressway. On the thick highway, they try to put bumps. You know,
so only an idiot who can do that.
It's madness of its own kind. Ask yourself. There has been something going on at around the junction to Parliament there. I mean, that is something you would do in 3 months. We are now doing a year. We are doing a year.
Yeah, much more right.
Yeah, we are doing a year. I mean, are those people thinking of tomorrow? Look at it this way. He asked a very fundamental question here that, you know, if you want to understand our economy, you must look at what is happening in Tanzania, in Uganda, in the East African community. But look at it this way. You have a very good idea and you don't fund it. And I'll give you the good idea. You want to go Singapore, you want to go China, you want to go Hong Kong. You say the channel to this is TVET, then you don't fund it.
No. That brings to the question, which may just hold it
then
there.
You don't fund it.
Because I have got only 10 minutes to go, 13 actually. But I have personal questions, just to connect it with you, Mheshimiwa. We talked about education and TVET as the pathway to Singapore and then Hong Kong. Around 2 days ago, you talked about the issue to do with education and promotion of teachers.
Yes.
And you talked so passionate about it. I think that was in your constituency or something.
Yes.
In 2 minutes, could you just expand on that?
Yes.
Because you sit in the education committee.
You know, there is a confusion at the Teacher Service Commission.
And the confusion is people think equality is the same as equity. If you have 1,000 schools, you will automatically have more teachers than a person who has 100 schools. Someone sitting in TSC decides that there are 23,000 positions of different levels. Let me say an example. 100 positions for D4. D4 is the senior principal. Then you say divide equally among the 47 counties. That's madness. Narok is not the same as Lamu. Narok has more teachers than Lamu. Kakamega has more teachers than Busia or Bungoma. Now, how do you divide it equally? And that's what the principals are saying. What kind of criteria?
But you sit in the education committee. Much.
Let me tell you, we don't micromanage the sector. We give an overriding policy. And that is why I said, and I've put a petition to my chairman, that they hold on to the promotions until we agree on the criteria. I mean, it is the same thing as the way we share revenue. We share revenue based on population. That is it.
Level.
Exactly, all those factors. And if you are coming to promote teachers, it is obviously, it's an obvious factor that if I have 1,000 schools, I will have many more teachers. I need more chances than a person who has 100 schools. It's common sense.
Yeah.
And then we were saying, you also have to look at what we described. When there was no promotion for over 10 years, there are people who ought to have moved, and they have never moved at all. They are reaching their retirement age. You must have an affirmative action to deal with this. Then there is the issue of performance. And let me tell you, what the principals are raising raises a fundamental issue. Is this the reason why we have been having examination cheat?
What is the solution to this?
The solution to this is basic. One, that we must apply the international acceptable standard of promotion.
Right.
Number two, we must apply equity, not equality. It's about equity, my friend. Yes. And then number three, we must have affirmative action in areas that have had problems. And the problematic areas would be this. When you changed the system and brought in SRC, SRC banded teachers together in various grades. The transformation of that was never done in a manner that will take into consideration the different varying ages. Let me tell you something that will be shocked. A teacher in my school, in one of my schools, a senior teacher, a guy who has produced very good results and is admired, almost caused a strike when he decided to transfer from the school. So there was a problem.
Okay.
So I was informed. So I went to speak to him. Why are you moving from this school? He said, Mheshimiwa, my student is the principal. I'm not even his deputy. I'm a senior teacher. And this student of mine became a principal because he went to teach in a hard-to-staff area. So he was the promotion he was getting every year. Now, when I tell him things how I think we can run the school, he thinks I'm undermining him. I don't like wars.
Very good. Prof.
Yes.
You went to court to challenge the selection panel, some of the two candidates in the selection panel. Of course, we have got four-faced the selection panel yesterday. And you went to court and had some court orders against two. That is candidate Nyachai and candidate Ann Amadi. Why? Just
Joy
start the
Madibo.
surface.
Joy Madibo.
Joy Madibo, right. I beg your pardon.
You know, Victor, I'm a strategist. And in strategy, we believe that most wars are won before they begin. So I want to tell Kenyans that this week, election could have gotten right this week, or we've got it wrong this week, not next week, not 2027. Even Jesus says, before you start building a house, you have to know you have all the resources. By having the kind of select panel we have, which there's a controversy about somebody sitting in that panel, and now I looked at the CV and the profile of Joy Modibo, Brenda Masinde, that is, and that one on Nyachai, and I found serious issues, and I wonder why the select panel even shortlisted them. I don't understand the criteria for the shortlisting. First of all, you saw very well in the beginning that Joy is one of the chair of Kenya Power. Now, first of all, being in the board of Kenya Power is a presidential appointment. Going to become a chair which is independent, electoral, independent. What is independence here? It should be independent from any other interference. After you are holding a presidential appointment, then you put an application. You are supposed to resign before. Secondly, Joy Modibo is an official of UDA party. To be exact, even one of the members of Disciplinary and Resolution Committee of UDA. She has not resigned from it. So how can you again go and become an arbiter in an election where UDA is a player? Joy Modibo is the daughter of a bishop whom the president has confessed in public that whenever he wants to have confession, he goes to the bishop.
Is that an offense?
I'm saying, we're talking about independence here.
Okay.
Conflict of interest, okay, isn't it? I'm sure those raise a serious concern. Then worst of all, Joy Modibo does not have a track record of execution and performance, because Kenya Power is one of the biggest headache to Kenyans. Ask any Kenyan, no Kenyan pays token when they're happy. Tokens are very expensive and the company is bankrupt, like nearly. It has got debts that they can't even pay.
Okay.
So with that mismanagement of Kenya Power, which is a small part of this country, transferring it to an issue which is actually global.
I hope you're not executing your case.
For me, I'm saying that's serious. Then the one of Nyachai, the concern we have is that Nyachai also is a board member of a presidential appointment. Nyachai is having some other issues because our research shows that Nyachai is on CRB. He has even run a company. He's one of the directors of a company which has been trying to evade paying taxes. So when someone is on CRB, someone is evading taxes, when they become chair of IBC and you give them a budget of 66 billion shillings to run, where is he starting from? Is he going to pay the taxes as ICB?
So this matter is coming up. So this matter is coming up for mentioning all.
Yeah, yesterday we
exactly 5 minutes at 8.
Yeah,
today.
so yesterday we submitted this matter on Saturday. On Monday, the judge gave direction in Naivasha High Court that we listen to the petition at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the IBC select panel email was not working, so they could not be served. I had to run to the College of Insurance to give my own. They delayed me until now. They are saying the case being heard today. So the judge again gave 2 directions on the same day. So the case being heard today at 8 a.m. Should I'm talking about impact because I don't know about the merits and demerit. Should our petition actually be given direction by the judge that we are right that IBC select panel has given a short list to people who are disqualified from being there, it will raise a serious issue on the behavior of the select panel.
Concern.
Yes, a serious concern.
To be here today. Wishima, just a quick one. You met Babu Owino and Ndindi Nyoro a few days ago. What's happening? Just a cup of tea?
First of all, before I come to that, I don't want to delve into what Professor is saying.
Right.
But Joy Modibo being a UDA member, even the late chair, Chebukati, was a life member of ODM. So I think, you want IBC again, you don't want.
Being a member and official is different.
But what was wrong last time cannot justify wrong today.
I met Babu Owino and I met Ndindi Nyoro. They are very progressive leaders in this country. And in their respective constituency, they also have persons with stability.
Okay.
They are part of the East African community. They are also leaders that we all admire in terms of what they have done in their constituency, which can be promoted so that they can do whatever they are doing in their constituency in a larger constituency called Kenya. And I don't think the Constitution bar them from probably running for presidency and deputy president, respectively. So I met them to discuss on the future politics of this country and how they have managed.
Are you telling us the future today?
Victor, Sangok is not just Sangok. Please. This Sangok, even look at the way he's dressing.
So it's East Africa.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You are not just Sangok. Yes. So when you appear somewhere with the people who have political interest to all of us,
that's why I
then you are discussing something very serious. Sangok, you must come clear and say you are forming your own system.
No. I'm saying, today I've met with you, Victor. Right. You are a Kenyan.
Yes.
I've met with my brother here and Prof. Then somebody will now take it politically. We are strategic. What is wrong with me having a cup of tea
what did they tell you? Are you talking about the future here?
Which future?
Ndininyoro and Babu.
They are doing well, and they'll continue doing well. Kenyan, if they admire them, they can promote them.
Whose messenger are you?
In terms of messenger, I'm a messenger of myself. I'm the messenger of the East African Legislative Assembly. And I'm a messenger of the East African Economic Bloc, the most progressive economic bloc in the world.
Thank you, gentlemen. You know what I've loved about this discussion? We've talked about issues with Africa today. I mean, it was like a men's talk. Yes. It was a men's talk. Yes. Nobody could really say that ODM, UDA, Jubilee, and all that. It was a conversation that affects all of us. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Mheshimiwa Sankok, continue doing what you're doing best in Arusha. Yeah. Of course, that is where you're supposed.
And very soon I'm meeting Natembea for your information.
I'm proud.
Okay.
And also I will be meeting with my brother here.
What about me?
Of course, Professor.
Professor Fred Ogola, thank you so much. He's the convener of J25 movement, and of course, Mheshimiwa Lugari, Member of Parliament. Nabi Dabwera, asante sana, gentlemen, for coming to the show. My name is Victor Lowe. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ima na wendo mwingi tugikuthokia Embu County, the land of opportunities. Kambunene ya Ngemi FM mushi worata.
Twegagure na kamwetha ka maviu metu. Muroro kiande tukunye maire na murori tuthie thokore besa mivukore cha
manje makiyara uranje muri cietu cia thitima na ronje rwathagana nyamu cia kithaka igitugemeria bururi wetu wa mbere Embu County. Ngemi FM tikuo muno tukianirira na mugambo munene. Eno ni
Ngemi FM
musie wa urata.
Eno ni nyumba nene
musie wa urata.
Ngemi FM 103.5.
Tumsikize Sheikh Danun ili aweze kutufahamisha kuhusiana na kisa hiki na mengine mengi ambayo yanafungamana na jinsi ya kuchuma mazao ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani.
Kwa sababu dini yetu hii ni dini ya kukumbushana. Kwa hiyo tunapokumbushana tuhakikishe tunakumbuka huu ukumbusho na tuwe wenye kufanyia kazi haya maamrisho yanayotoka kwa Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala na kadhalika.
We want to look at this conversation of generational gap. It's something that has been outside there. In the political circle, many things have happened. Also in church, we've had those complaints.
Now we have a group of young people that are everything different.
Wow.
From how their parents were when they were young. Because we have so much freedom. And sometimes when freedom is too much, it can be abused.
That's right.
And they usually say actually true freedom has limits. So let's give honor to those that are due honor. It doesn't mean I agree with you. It doesn't mean that I say yes to you. It says we may disagree, but respectfully.
Wow.
All right, thank you for staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. We get straight into matters health, and today's conversation is on breast reconstruction and aesthetics. And joining me for this topic, to discuss this topic is one Dr. Andrew Were Onyino, and Dr. Andrew is a board-certified plastic reconstructive and aesthetic surgeon at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show to talk about this matter that I feel like most times is not really talked about, you know. So let's begin with the definition. When we talk about reconstruction, what exactly are we talking about, and what's the difference between the reconstruction and the aesthetics
bit?
Yeah.
So plastic surgery basically is classified as reconstructive or aesthetic bit, and breast reconstruction mainly focuses on returning the tissue. For example, maybe you had breast cancer and then you had a mastectomy done. So your main aim is, as a plastic surgeon, is then after removing that breast tissue, is to give the woman or the man back the breastbone they had. So that's basically breast reconstruction, and it's normally done for patients who maybe had a breast cancer or had maybe large breast, what we call gigantomastia, that we also do the reconstruction, or genetically you were born with the small breast, what we call micromastia or tuberous breast. So we're able to go in and use part of your body tissue from another, maybe with back or the tummy, and then reconstruct for your breast. We can also do it with silicone implants to give you that breast mount, or use fat transfer to do that. So that's basically what breast reconstruction is.
What's the difference between now the reconstruction and the aesthetics?
So for aesthetic bits is normally where a man, or let me start for a man because most of them are normally forgotten. Maybe they have breasts, what you call gynecomastia. Then,
a man can get gigantomastia?
No, gynecomastia. So so what we call it male boobs. This happens when you use steroids, or maybe you have a genetic abnormality when you're born. And then we're able to remove that breast mount and give you a chest like for a man. But then when you talk about the aesthetic bit, is where you desire maybe to have a bigger breasts, or maybe you desire to have smaller breasts, or maybe your breast after passing through pregnancy, a bit droopy or saggy, then you want them to be lifted and become pucky. So then we're able to reconstruct your breasts with the aim of making them look more beautiful. So that's the aesthetic bit.
That's why the word aesthetic.
Aesthetic.
Yeah.
But reconstructive is, it's more after a disease process, and most of the time it's a cancerous-based disease process.
Yeah. So for the ladies who it's just all about the cosmetic bit, that's the aesthetic part, not the reconstruction.
Not the reconstruction.
All right.
Yeah.
So are there different types of reconstruction? You know, of breast reconstruction. Are there different options? Yeah.
So normally when you undergo, let's say, mastectomy, this is where they remove the cancerous breast tissue. Then you normally undergo treatment, and once the cancer has receded or you've been cleared of the cancerous cells, then we have different options. The first option that we normally prefer is where you use your own body tissues to construct the breast mound. So we can go maybe to your back, on the right side of the arm or the axilla. We can also get tissues from your tummy to construct that breast. Depending on how big you want them to be, then we can also address the other breast that was unaffected by making it the same size with now your reconstructed breast. We actually go further and even do the nipple reconstruction. So once we construct, if you have lost a nipple during that particular process where we didn't spare a nipple when you're doing the mastectomy, then we're able to reconstruct with your own body tissue. The second type of breast reconstruction is basically where we use silicone breast implants. So what we do is after you've undergone, you've lost your breast, maybe through that cancerous process, we've done a mastectomy, then we use a silicone item, what is called a breast tissue expander, to create a pocket in your breast, in your chest, where we can be able to put a silicone expander. The other form of breast reconstruction is where maybe you had a lump and they removed that particular lump, but it was big enough and left you with smaller breast. So what we do then, we can get fat from a different part of your body, or use hyaluronic acid fillers to actually now create for you a breast mount. But that we do through a serial process. We need 2 or 3 surgeries to create that.
Yeah. And how do you get to decide on which particular reconstructive surgery suits who, you know, from the tissue one to the silicone one? How do you get to decide, or is it up to the patient to pick?
Not really. So different patients, you will find a patient will come who has a high BMI. Sometimes because of that weight, we cannot safely use, let's say, your abdominal body tissue to construct that breast mound. So for that case, then we'll maybe advise you to use silicone implants, or then ask you whether we can have the tissue removed from your back if they're big enough to create the mound. Some ladies you find they're maybe too small, so they don't have that extra tissue to actually create the mound. And for them, then you give them an option to actually now increase the space where you can create a breast mound using now the silicone implant. So it's based on the individual patient characteristics and their health status, and then in discussion with the plastic surgeon, then we get what best fits you.
This may seem like a question that but is there a difference between, you know, the tissue one and the fat? You know, can you use fat, or it's the same one and the same thing?
No.
It's
so
not the same.
there are different things, but you can use, so when you say using a body tissue, fat is also a body tissue, but then we call that lipofilling, which is just basically using liposuction, getting the fat from a different part of your body, and then using it to create the mound in a serial manner, let's say 2 or 3 sessions. But we say a fat, getting a body tissue, then that when you get actually your skin and a bit of fat from a different part of the body, mostly the back and the tummy, and then use it to reconstruct the breast mound.
All right. So how long does the surgery take?
On average, it depends. If you're one surgeon, it can take you between 4 to 6 hours to do the breast reconstruction using the different body tissue, what you call a flap, to around 4 hours if you are 2 surgeons. When you use the silicone implants, it tends to be a bit shorter because it saves you the journey of having to harvest the flap and reconstructing the mount. So then you find that one can take between 2 and 3 hours. Yeah.
There's something you had mentioned about, I would love for us to get into it. That's the nipple reconstruction as well. So you also reconstruct the nipple?
Yes, so plastic surgeons actually here in this country have the ability to, once you have undergone a breast mastectomy, when the cancer maybe involved the breast nipples, then you lose the nipple. To restore that normal form, then you're able to reconstruct nipples for you. Of course, they won't be as functional as what God gave you, but then if someone looks at you as a woman, then you're able to see that your breasts are almost normal. We also use tattoo technology. You can actually use draw 3D nipples for you if you want that option. And basically just to ensure that we restore your womanhood and your dignity and just you being you, your quality of life.
Yeah. So it's for the look. So if say someone has a child or gets a baby, they cannot be able to suckle.
They cannot be able, and their options then will be able to recommend for you in terms of how you'll breastfeed that baby. I think one that is normally a false notion is when you have, let's say, a breast reduction following having very heavy big breasts, what we call gigantomastia. You can actually breastfeed after that particular procedure. So it depends on the procedure that is done. If a mastectomy is done, you lost the breast tissue, then breastfeeding may not be an option for you. If, let's say, it was just a large tumor, we had then the gigantomastia, then we can be able to reconstruct the breast in a manner that allows you to actually continue breastfeeding.
Does it affect the feeling of the overall feeling of the breast?
One of the side effects of, especially we go towards gigantomastia or breast reduction, is you might lose your nipple sensation, which comes back between 6 and 9 months. But then we have developed techniques to ensure that we try as much as possible as surgeons to ensure that that does not happen.
What does that recovery period look like, and how much time does it take for one to recover fully from the reconstruction?
So recovery, so the reconstruction can range from a daycare. You come in the morning and you leave the hospital, or you can come and stay with us at least 3 days as an inpatient, where we monitor how the new body tissue is taking in the new place as a breast mount, and give you treatment to ensure that there's no infection or other complications. Within 2 weeks, you should be up and about. What might delay is now you integrating back to society, where we give you a schedule and we say, do not engage, let's say, involves so fully recover 8 to 12.
Fully recover
into your normal life.
And you know, for someone who has undergone, you know, mastectomy, how long should one wait before getting the reconstructive surgery? Is there a time frame for it, or can one, you know, get it, you know, cut and just have it done immediately?
Yes, so we have those options depending on the disease the breast has. So they're what we call immediate reconstruction, where we're able to remove the cancerous breast or the tumor and reconstruct the breast at the same setting. But then there are those where you have to follow protocol. For example, you have to undergo a session of chemotherapy or radiotherapy to ensure there's total clearance. So you find for those, we normally recommend 6 months to 12 months for the breast to settle, for the radiation injury to settle, then we can consider reconstructing the breast.
Now, are there potential risks? I think everything has risks and maybe complications. So if you can just take us through the risks and potential complications that may arise from this, and how you work on, you know, minimizing the complications.
So like any surgery, there's a risk. But then in trained hands, that's when you're in board certified plastic surgeon, where you've been certified by the government to do that particular surgery, then you're able to ensure that you mitigate. For example, I'd mentioned just loss of, let's say, nipple sensation. We have a technique that we do to ensure that that is mitigated, and we stick to it so that you can be able to have sensation in the breast. Normally, sometimes you can move that tissue and it refuses to take. And that's because maybe your blood supply issues, and that's when patient selection comes in. You might find that you come and you feel you have enough body tissue to reconstruct your breast, but then the surgeon will take you and tell you your body mass index is so high. if you do this reconstruction, then it might not take. So either go lose weight first, or then consider another viable option. Of course, infection, that we mitigate by having good drugs, antibiotics, and pain is another thing that we manage very well. Most of the time when you hear plastic surgery cases, people talk about pain. But then in experienced hands, you find that from experience, we're able to control that. At KTRH, we have very experienced anesthesiologists and who can be able to even give you blocks, which ensure that your recovery is as comfortable as possible. So like any surgery, there is also maybe a risk of you having a clot, which mitigate that by giving you anticoagulants. So every risk that is there, we are able to manage it very well at our institution. Yeah.
How many successful, maybe reconstructive surgeries have you been able to undertake?
Yeah. At KTRH, if I start at KTRH, last year, this is our second breast cancer reconstruction camp. We did more than 30 patients where we were able to do breast reconstruction, and most of them to successful with less than a 4% complication rate, which we also were able to handle. On a personal level, I've been practicing plastic surgery from May 2016. I've done several breast reconstructions using silicone implants, doing the breast reductions, doing the breast lift. So it's into their hundreds in terms of the numbers you have been able to do successfully.
It's unfortunate that some stories we get to hear of, I don't really think it's breast reconstruction, but it's the cosmetic bit of it, whereby you want your breasts to be enlarged or reduced, or you want them to look a certain way. Some of the cases we've gotten to hear, and I think the very recent one was just early this year, in January, that was trending, where a woman had gone in for this kind of surgery, and unfortunately she got these complications and eventually died, So maybe just to caution, someone who's looking to have the aesthetic bit of it, on what exactly to look out for before them deciding this is the hospital I'm picking, or this is the surgeon I'm picking. Just the do's and don'ts maybe, and just the tips.
Actually, it's a problem that we are trying to tackle in Kenya, and it happens in the hands of what I call almost medical quacks. The reason I'm saying medical quacks, these individuals or doctors certified? Who are not board certified plastic surgeons, and they're actually practicing outside their scope of practice, which has been clearly defined by a regulator, the KMPDC. So I think the first thing before you undergo any aesthetic or breast reconstruction is to find out, is your surgeon board certified? And the second important thing is consult with that plastic surgeon. You have to consult with the doctor who's going to do the surgery. Don't use proxies or middlemen, where we have a lot of that popping up in our country, where someone organizes for you a surgery, but then you don't get to see the plastic surgeon until the day of the surgery. That is totally wrong, because then you're not able to get the benefit of being evaluated, do a risk evaluation, and then discuss how to manage the complications. The third thing that you need to check is the issue of the institution you're going. How many cases of plastic surgery do they do? What is the team? Because it's not only the plastic surgeon, it's also the post-op care that you receive from there. The nursing team that are in that particular institution, they must be experienced in terms of providing post-operative care. So if you focus on those three things, the board certified plastic surgeon, the facility being registered to do the plastic surgery procedures, and ensuring that you're actually consulting with the plastic surgeon that is going to do your surgery, then you mitigate your risks in terms of complications happening. So those are the things I can advise the public. If you'll see many advertisements, mostly on Instagram, on TikTok, saying they're able to provide either reconstructive or cosmetic plastic surgery. But what you need to ask, who's the person providing? Are they qualified enough to actually provide that service safely to you.
Yeah. And to our viewers, you remember you can get to call us live. If you've got any questions for our doctor this morning, you can call us. Our number is 0716 103 301. 0716 103 301. You can call in if you have a comment or question. We have the doctor here and he's ready to answer all of our questions. You mentioned for one to, you know, some of the tips that you've just given us right now is you should ensure that whoever is doing this surgery, undertaking the surgery, should be board certified.
Yes.
Is there a way one can be able to check on that? Is there a specific platform where one can log on to and get to find this information?
Actually, because of what has been happening in the recent past, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board has always put a list of board certified plastic surgeons and also a list of facilities and how they're registered to provide the services. So you can actually, I'll try to look up the number, but there's a code you can send to Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, and they're able to confirm to you, to reply to you and say, Dr. Were is a board certified plastic surgeon, or KTRH is a facility where we have plastic surgeons who provide safe plastic surgery services, and you can actually go there and seek service. So there's actually, the government has provided that avenue through the KMPDC portal.
And also to be able to know how many successful surgeries have been done, you know, in that particular institution, it's possible to check that.
It's possible
online.
to check because every surgery that is done is a log that you're legally supposed to keep. Together with any complications and stuff. And mostly that you do through societies, professional bodies, where they're able to actually provide with you the list of the members who are plastic surgeons, and also if you want to delve deeper in terms of the statistics in the surgeries being performed here in the country.
All right. When a patient comes, you know, say for a reconstructive surgery, or when they're preparing for it, do you also like ensure to prepare them emotionally? Because I can imagine this is someone who has lost their breast, you know, from cancer, or, for example. Do you need to take them through it, you know, emotionally first before getting to undertake it?
Yes. So in KTRH, you have a breast clinic working hand in hand with the plastic surgery unit. And it's a multidisciplinary team. So you'll go there, you'll find their nurses, their counselors. Just the fact that you get a diagnosis that you have a breast lump, that is cancers that need to be removed, needs you to be taken through what that entails and how your life will be after that. So we have a group of actually counselors who do that, working together with the breast clinic unit and the plastic surgery unit at the hospital to ensure that you get all the information you need to make an informed decision on what now you need going forward. So we do provide that.
It's very needed.
It's very needy, and sometimes they normally also say if you have heard of cases where someone does a plastic surgery case and continues and continues and continues. So there's also that aspect where we work closely with the psychiatrist, where if you look at yourself, you think you're deformed, but when you come to us, then you tell you, no, you're perfectly okay. Maybe we can tweak one or two things. So there's a mental health component of that. But then working together with the psychologist and psychiatrist, then you're able to pick that up and then provide for you the care that you need.
And speaking about that, yes, we've seen cases, you know, mainly on social media, where someone may seem like they are addicted to these cosmetic surgeries. So they go in for the breast, maybe increase for a breast increase. They have their breast increase. After a while, they still want it to be increased. You know, is this something that you advise?
It depends.
Is it really
so is it an illness, mental illness you're dealing with? And we have a way of checking that. But then maybe it's just you.
It could be a mental illness.
Yeah, if it's not, sometimes as a woman or as a man, you just want to look good. And maybe you've gone out and gotten feedback, maybe from the social media, that you should have done. I saw the other day one of socialites being told that, oh, you should not have done this, remove it back. So it depends on the feedback also you get. But the most important thing is, what do you feel about yourself? Because the decision that you make about you and then you're able to get the best look that you want. And that's why we're here as plastic surgeons to provide that. Yeah. But then if we pick out, then there's an issue that is more of an illness, what we call body dysmorphism disorder, then you're able also to treat that and ensure that working with a psychiatrist that you get the proper care you need. Yeah.
Just to get to understand better, you know, the reconstruction and the aesthetics bits, the difference. Say you have a patient who's lost one of their breasts due to cancer, so they've come in for a reconstruction. So the reconstruction is you reconstructing the breast, the breast, breast what?
We call it mound.
Mound.
Yeah.
Yeah, the breast mound.
Yeah.
And then now the aesthetic bits is for you to ensure that it matches the other breast. Or just take me through that.
So basically, when you have undergone, let's say, mastectomy, you have lost your breast because of cancer, when you come in, we're doing breast reconstruction. It's not aesthetics at all.
Yeah.
And you see, if I decide to reconstruct the breast that you lost, then I have to ensure that it looks the same like the opposite breast.
Yeah.
So then I'll have to resize that breast so that it looks the same, what you call symmetrization. So that is not aesthetics, that is mainly breast reconstruction.
Okay.
It's a service that actually it's even paid for by insurance and also paid by the social health insurance scheme fund. They also pay for that. So it's something that is considered a reconstructive and not an aesthetic procedure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking about the cost, let's get into that. Just how costly is it? And you've clearly already mentioned to us that insurance does cover for the reconstruction, right?
Yes.
So just how expensive or affordable is it?
Yeah, plastic surgery in Kenya is very affordable. In the past, it was
affordable.
Yeah, it's affordable. It was quite high because initially there were 2-3 plastic surgeons. In Nairobi, we boast of more than 30 plastic surgeons now.
Yeah.
So depending if you are paying cash or you are paying through insurance, you find through insurance, because it's a reconstructive, then you're able to afford it because then you've taken an insurance against that particular risk. If you decide to pay cash, it can be as low as 250 to as high as 650,000, depending on what option you're using for reconstruction. Are you using your own body tissues? Do you need to go buy a silicone implant? Are you going to do liposuction so that you can create the breast mound? So we find, and those are package costs. So those cover the hospital stay, they cover the surgeon, the anesthesiologist. So compared to other parts of the world where a simple reconstruction, I was just talking to some of the team we have at KTRH at the moment who are visiting plastic surgeons from Canada. And I was asking, how much does it cost to do a breast reduction in Canada? And they say it's up to 10,000 USD. So if you compared what you're charging here, it's almost a quarter, not even a quarter, a fifth of that cost. Yeah, so plastic surgery in Kenya is affordable, contrary to what people think outside there.
All right, on that note, we take a break. Don't you go too far, we'll be back to continue with this conversation.
Wellness is important in our daily lives so that instead of just surviving, we should be thriving.
Ways to prevent a stroke or heart attack is for you to know what conditions you have by regular checkup. People don't know they have hypertension. They don't know they have diabetes.
I was pre-diabetic. I was afraid of getting lifestyle diseases because I come from a family that has lifestyle diseases.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra niceness of reggae music,
Extra dose of entertainment.
when the thing is nice
We have to do it twice.
All right, and we are back. Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, our conversation is on breast reconstruction and aesthetics. And with me is Dr. Andrew Were, who is a certified plastic, reconstructive and aesthetic surgeon. Now, we were talking about the cost before we took the break.
Yeah.
You had touched on, it's not that it's quite affordable.
Yeah, it's affordable.
You know, though affordable is relative, but if you compare with other countries, just as you did, it's actually more affordable in Kenya. But that is only on the reconstruction bit.
Yes.
You know, the aesthetics bit is not covered by insurance, and it's a bit more expensive, or no?
So the aesthetic bit is a bit pricey, but still within the economies of scale here in our country. It's not covered by insurance. They're mostly exclusions. But then when you come to us in our clinic, we're able to provide for you, if it's in a private clinic, a payment plan where you're able to plan yourself and have. There are banks that are interested now to come on board and support women who want to look different, beautiful, by providing for them those services in terms of advancing, let's say, a credit card that you can use to access the service. But then in terms of affordability, it's cheaper to actually do it here, and it's safer because you'll be taken care of at home than actually flying to other countries where you're a stranger and really don't know whether the person who's doing that surgery on you is qualified or not.
Does it leave a scarring?
Scars are something that we have to deal with, but then in a board-certified plastic surgeon's hand, we manage the scars very well so that you don't have unsightly scars. So it becomes more like, for example, if you do a tummy tuck, it's more like a bikini, a very small bikini scar. Then we have devices, we have lasers that we can be able to do, and other energy devices that we can be able to use to actually make the scar fade away. So in scar management, yes, a scar is something that you have to do, especially to deal with, especially Africans. But then, because we scar more, because of genetics, but then...
Oh, Africans scar more?
Scar more compared to, let's say, Europeans or Asians, but then we're able to manage that in a very nice way so that you have something that is sightly.
Right. We've gotten to talk about the risks and potential complications. How about we talk about the pros?
So the pros is, I normally say what most women in our country are not given is the option of having a breast reconstruction. And for the most of them who have come to KTRH, and we have actually attended to them, you can actually see there's a need in terms of them regaining just their confidence as a woman, because a breast is something that is naturally associated with fertility, with womanhood, and we believe that it's something that you should have. So in the past, we used to have you can wear bras, padded bras, or other devices, but now we have evolved as a country where we're able to create and restore that particular organ to you. So I believe that you need to have a breast reconstruction after mastectomy done as a woman. But then, of course, it's a matter of choice. Some ladies choose not to, because because of the trauma of the previous surgery. But now, since we opened this breast reconstruction camp at KTRH, we're seeing more and more women actually coming back. And we have very good testimonials about how it has changed their life. It has helped them integrate back to society. It has made them feel normal. So I think I can just summarize all the pros for that as giving you back your womanhood. And especially, and for men, making men feel more manly, masculine, because no man wants to walk around, let's say, with what we call male boobs. So gynecomastia, then we're also able to excise and construct the male chest for them. Yeah.
All right, as we almost come to a conclusion, let's talk about the event that is coming up. What is the event all about?
So at KGRH, we normally have breast camps and other surgical and medical camps. So this particular year, we are glad to have faculty and consultant doctors coming all the way from Canada, from Italy, from Ghana, where we're able to exchange ideas and we construct breast for women who have undergone mastectomy, and also men who have gynecomastia, and women who have very big breasts that are giving them. So we do this on a yearly basis. So we're from Monday 24th to 27th. On Thursday, we'll be having these surgeries going on at KGRH, and it's actually been paid for by SHA. So I like to encourage women who desire to actually have their breast reconstructed to come actually to KGRH. And even after this week, they can still come to our clinics every Tuesday, where we'll evaluate them and do the reconstruction for them. So I think it's an event that we need. When we exchange with the international faculty, we learn from them, and they're also able to learn from us what we do best and how we handle our patients within the African patients, Kenyan patients. And that exchange of knowledge is very good in terms of making us more skilled and more better in basically what we do. Yeah.
Is it covered fully by SHA? When you say it's being covered by SHA, is it
majority of the
covered?
cost is covered by SHA? Yeah, because it's breast reconstruction and it's there, so it's able to be covered. And for those also who have private insurance, KGRH has a list of private insurances that can actually come on board. But then if you combine the insurance, the SHA, and even if you're paying out of pocket, it's not as expensive being a public hospital.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. There's sometimes there's stigma around, you know, breasts, reconstruction and the aesthetics bit. Maybe how do we go about addressing such stigma? Because I'm sure we've seen, you know, mainly on social media, I guess that's where the negativity mainly is on, you know, where they talk about, no, it's plastic and whatever. So just as we finish, how to address that very quickly.
So how to address that is through public education, like what you're trying to do. But I believe as a man or as a woman, if you want to change any part of your body that will make you feel good and build your mental health status to be better, improve your quality of life, then you should be able to do that. Nairobi, or many more people. You just need to be keen and look around and you'll see the number of women and men who are actually doing these procedures, and they're doing it safely under the hands of the board-certified plastic surgeons.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
and
having
thank you
me
for shedding light on this very important topic.
Thank you.
All right, this is where we end this conversation. Remember, the race for IEBC chair is on, and the interviews got to commence yesterday and will be ongoing until tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day of the interview. We have 11 candidates who are being interviewed on the IEBC chair position, and today is the second day of it, and it's actually on your screens, as you can see, and it is happening right now, so we can head over there and get to follow up on that. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is where we end. Good morning, Kenya.
Mr. Ethekon is the best candidate for this position. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished panelists for welcoming me here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, particularly for your very kind words. I am very pleased to be before this distinguished panel so that we can have this interactive dialogue on the basis of the invitations, as the chairs rightly put it, invitations of Kenyans who have so desired for a long time to have a duly constituted IEBC to be able to perform its constitutional and legal mandate in the management of our electoral affairs and boundary delimitation matters. So I am indeed very pleased to be here because this is a national duty. And I hope in the next 2 hours or so, I'll be able to tell you about myself and why I did apply or express interest to be chairman of the IBC. And hopefully from there we can have more interactive dialogue so that you can find more about me. Mr. Chairman, allow me to introduce myself. I am Erastus Edung Lokale Ethekon, as you may have seen from my application or documents submitted to you. I come from Turkana County, which is in the far north part of this country. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya of more than 17 years standing. I am also, Mr. Chairman, a practitioner in the field of conflict prevention, peace building, at a level of professional level, with the degrees to back it up. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, I am also a professional in the field of project management. And I have shared with you the qualifications in that regard. Mr. Chairman, I come before this panel as a Kenyan, and a Kenyan from the north, who is passionate, who is committed, and who is consistent to contribute to our national building duty, because I look at Kenya as a project, as an ongoing project that calls upon all patriotic citizens who have various skills, who have various competencies and skills, and that they are therefore called upon to participate in building Kenya. As you are aware, the chairman and distinguished panels, Kenya is a country that is going through democratization. And electoral processes, electoral management is one of those important duties that we as Kenyans must manage. And therefore, I come here well aware of the kind of institution or the kind of duties, the kind of mandates that a chairperson of the IBC is required to undertake. So, having looked at my professional and academic career, I felt that I think I possess the relevant academic qualifications and the relevant work experience that is necessary or that will be helpful to the management of the IEBC. Number one, Mr. Chair, I am one of those professionals that possesses multiple academic qualifications, having studied law at the University of Nairobi, where I obtained a bachelor's degree, second class upper division honors. I followed that with qualifications at the Kenya School of Law, where I obtained a postgraduate diploma in law, whereupon I was thereafter in 2003, I was admitted to the bar, to the role of advocates of the High Court of Kenya, to commence my journey as a legal practitioner, as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Later on, not necessarily in the order of chronology, later on, Mr. Chair, I followed up my legal qualifications with a specialized certificate in implementation of the international human rights treaties at the University of Nottingham in the UK. And this was through the Chevening, what they call the Chevening Fellowship by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. So I'm a Chevening fellow or scholar in that respect. And then with having done that, I also made sure that I later on did a master's in law at the University of Derby in the UK. And in that regard, I deviated a little bit from the issues of human rights, governance. I focused more on issues of transnational oil, gas, and energy law. And again, distinguished panel, this was in recognition of the fact that Kenya was also going through, by 2012, we had also discovered oil reserves, so I needed to have some knowledge on how that field works. So that's, in a nutshell, my journey around acquiring legal qualifications, both in Kenya and outside Kenya. Mr. Chairman, my academic journey continued, and in mid-2000s, I was actually among the first Kenyans to venture into the field of conflict resolution, conflict and peace building studies, where I later on acquired a Master of Arts in International Peace, Conflict and Development Studies. This was a new field that time. Not many people knew about it, but I ventured into it out of the personal experiences from where I come from, a county, a region that has been prone to conflicts and violence. So I decided to study so that I get the necessary understanding of conflict analysis and tools that can help in the resolution of those conflicts. And finally, Mr. Chair, in terms of my academic journey, when I got an opportunity to work with an international organization in the United Nations, UNDP, United Nations Development Program. I felt it was necessary for me to sharpen my skills and to gain the necessary knowledge and tools to improve my project management skills. So that's why I got a partial scholarship from the United Nations to study a Master of Science in Projects Management at the University of Liverpool, again in the UK. So these are some of the tools, these are some of the skills, these are some of the academic qualifications that I'm bringing to the table as we have this dialogue on my suitability as a chairman. And Mr. Chairman, with your permission, maybe later on as we have the conversation, we can relate, we can see the relationship between these qualifications and the work that I'll be undertaking, if successful, at the Commission. Mr. Chairman, in terms of my experience and practical work experience, I must point out to this Commission that even way before I got my degree at the University of Nairobi and got these academic qualifications, I had the rare privilege to work for our electoral management body that time, the predecessor to the current IBC and IEC. And that is the ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya. Way back in 1997, before I joined the university, I was recruited as a returning officer to undertake the work of the commission in voter registration during one of those instances where the commission undertook mass voter registration. So through that assignment, I gained an understanding on how to register voters, how to prepare the voters register, verification, cleaning it up. So that really exposed me to the work of the Commission in that respect. Later on, Mr. Chair, distinguished panelists, in 1997, during the general election in December, and again in 2002, I served the electoral body as a presiding officer, where I managed the polling station, and I ensured that the voting preparations and the voting, the counting, the tallying, the declaration of results was done in those two respective elections, which were fairly successful, and they ended up with the good outcomes. So, Mr. Chair and distinguished panelists, that is how I got to interact with the work of an electoral management body. And so it is not therefore then a surprise that much later I sustained the same interest and desire to work with an electoral body such as now IEBC. And I think at some point in 2014, I did apply and I was considered for the position of IEBC CEO. We went through rigorous interviews by IEBC through KPMG and other panels, and I must report that I was among the top 3 candidates. And luckily, of course, or unfortunately, the chance went to someone else who was also a deserving Kenyan. So I got to miss that opportunity, but then I never lost hope, so I kept on, and that journey has brought me to this place at the moment. So, Mr. Chair, in terms of experience, as I was going to go there, I have worked in different institutions, as you may see from my CV. I have worked in law firms. I have worked in Parliament for 2.5 years. I have worked with an independent national commission, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, for 3 years. Then I joined the United Nations, where I actually spent most of my professional career for close to 12 years before I went back home to serve the people of Turkana in Turkana County as their first county attorney. So this, over the last close to 20 years, I have accumulated experience throughout my work in these various institutions, which required different skills, which required different competencies, and of course, through which I acquired a lot of training and capacity building. So, Mr. Chair, I think, I don't know whether I should go into the specifics.
I think that's fair enough. We have noted that as most of those things are in your CV, and we appreciate both your academic and career journey and the experience that you cite and that it brings to this panel today. Allow me to ask the Vice Chair to ask some questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ethekon, the role of the IEBC is a very intense role when it comes to electoral matters. And even though you have a background in the legal profession, do you have any other multidisciplinary skills that can help you as a chairman of the IEBC to be able to deliver your mandate as the chairperson?
Thank you, Vice Chair, for that question. As I said during my introduction, I actually have invested a lot in acquiring multiple skills. So I'm not just a legal practitioner alone, but I also bring other skills in peace building, conflict management, projects management. So I will demonstrate to you how these skills will be of use to the delivery of the mandate of the IEBC. Madam Chair, Vice Chairperson, as a legal practitioner with 2 master's degrees and wide experience, having worked in Parliament, my role was to look at policy and legislative briefs. That was a special assignment under the Parliamentary Strengthening Program by SUNY. And through that, I got to understand how the policy process is done in Kenya. Later on, when I joined the Commission, my role was on research, policy, and legislative review and implementation of international human rights treaties. So I know for sure that IBC is an institution that is anchored in law, that is supposed to ensure compliance with law. that ensures that our elections are managed in a way that is compliant with the principles that are enshrined in the Constitution. There is an elaborate legal framework that governs our electoral processes and, of course, boundary delimitation, right from the electoral planning, execution, up to post-election review and audits. The boundary delimitation, again, will require that understanding of the procedures, the processes, and the legal provisions around that. There are issues of dispute resolution, again, arising out of the specific mandate of the IEBC. So as a lawyer, I would already be comfortable because I have the knowledge and the tools and to analyze the law, to interpret it, to find it. And more importantly, because my role at the National Commission on Human Rights was actually based on legislative review, I should be able, as the chairman, to lead my commission, commissioners and secretariat and the stakeholders in proposing, in making a case for reviews where, legal reviews where those are necessary. So for me, that skill of legal interpretation, legal writing, legislative drafting will be handy. Then secondly, in terms of my knowledge and skills in projects management, for example, you look at a project, we know, of course, elections. Sometimes elections generally are a process. But we can also look at an election, a specific election, for example, the 2022 elections that is coming in a few years. We can look at it as a project.
You mean 2027?
2027, I mean. The 2022, sorry, Mr. Chair. The 2022 is just past. For example, if we take the election of 2027, already from a project manager's point of view, you can look at that election as a project. And a project has a start date and an end date. And I'm sure that will be reflected in our electoral management election operations plan. So when you look at it, then you have to deliver these elections within the time frame. You have to deliver it within the budget. You have to deliver it within the scope. Then you have to deliver it again, working together with with the project stakeholders. In this case, for the case of elections, you are looking at the various stakeholders we are working with. So as a project management professional, there are specific skills that I'll bring. For example, time management, attention to detail, leading teams with emotional intelligence, making sure that all the teams at the commission, all the stakeholders, their issues or their concerns are taken into account. So there are those specific, including financial management and risk management. So those are some of the special skills that as a project manager I bring on the table. Thirdly, Madam Vice Chair, my knowledge and skills in the professional field of peace building, conflict management, because the Constitution calls upon us to ensure the elections are free from violence, intimidation, harassment. Those skills I have, for example, in the past, then maybe if I explain some of the things that I used to do at UNDP. We supported this country to come up with the conflict early warning and early response system. It is there, it is working, it's called WIANO. Those of you who have interacted with the National Steering Committee on Conflict Prevention and Management. That system worked during the 2010 referendum. It worked during the 2013 elections. And I've not interacted with it of late, but I am assured that it's working. And that's a system that, so those are some of the skills that I bring in terms of mediation, negotiation skills, facilitating processes that ensure the resolution of some of the internal conflicts, but also other conflicts with external actors. So in a nutshell, Madam Chair, without belaboring the point, I am here with all these tools at your disposal, at the disposal of Kenyans, to make sure that we improve our electoral processes in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ethekon. Just as a follow-up, Could you give this panel a scenario whereby your leadership skills have been tried and tested in your past career experiences and exposure?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think as we grow professionally and as we work through the various institutions that we've served, there are those moments that call for extraordinary measures. And as leaders, in our own right, in our own standing, we are called upon to respond to those situations. I think for me, I'll give an example, because I've been in this country for quite some time. And for the short period I've lived in this country, I have seen our elections, for example, evolve from the Mlolongo system when I was a young child up to the 1992, 97, up to 2007, and the rest. For me, I'll focus specifically to 2007. I was a young professional, just recruited to join UNDP from the National Commission on Human Rights. And in that role, I was required to set up a unit that will deal with issues of crisis prevention and recovery. So I moved from legal practice now to the field of crisis management and conflict prevention and recovery. But little did I know that I think it was almost like a setup, because my seniors in New York and in Geneva, working for the Bureau for Crisis Prevention and Recovery, they came to Kenya. They told me, we need you to hit the ground running. We need you to work around the clock, because we feel and we see, according to our conflict analysis and scenario building, Kenya is going to sort of degenerate into some sort of violent conflicts. But I, of course, as a young professional and passionate Kenyan who believes that Kenya is an island of peace in the sea of turmoil around, I didn't believe them. But fast forward, the election came so fast before I could do anything much, setting up the structures and work in identifying even the national institutions to work with. Then, boom, after elections, we saw what happened, post-election violence, there was crisis. So at that point, I did not have so much experience in that field, because I came from the Human Rights Commission, human rights lawyer, all that. So at that moment of crisis, that is when I stepped up my game as a young leader. I had to lead a team of those professionals who are deployed from across the world to come and support Kenya during that moment of crisis, to undertake mediation, to look at how to respond to some of the conflict hotspots. How do we lower the temperatures? What is it that we need to do to handle some of those hotspots? How do we help the country recover in terms of from that election violence? So I was thrust in the middle of all this, and with very little experience. But I managed, out of creativity, innovativeness, and resilience, to actually lead those teams of some of the most experienced people in resolving global conflicts. And I was there to support them, to